Today I feel like making Thanksgiving sides. Let's do it.
Hey! I may be hungover, but my food is the bomb, no. Ask your aunties, uncles, cousins, and your mom, no. Hungover chef, yeah, you know I go hard. If I'm not in the kitchen, you can catch me at the bar, yeah. Cheese, lettuce, or whatever, gonna make it right. A shot of Henny, help decide what we make tonight. This the life, if you ever in the mood for maybe a few drinks and some bomb-ass food. A shot of Henny, that's a plenty for the chef, yeah. The Jack Daniels, you can feel it in your chest, yeah. In the kitchen, got the mixer, got the spuds. Then I whip them while I'm sipping, cause it's sicker with a buzz, yeah. Ooh, we making bomb-ass food. Just one shot won't do. Not tonight, cause if I'm not hungover, then you know it isn't right, yeah.
Alrighty, so it's the season to be thankful. It's gobble gobble time, right? So you're going to be going with your families for Thanksgiving, you're going to be going to your friends for Friendsgiving, and you never know what you want to bring. So we're going to do 3 side dishes, super easy to make, and then we're going to finish off with a nice apple pie. Equally easy, also kind of intimidating, but if you follow the steps, you get the crust down right, it's going to be fine. We're going to start off with the apple pie, just to kind of get it out of the way. It's going to take most of your time. Then we're going to start off with the stuffing after that. Then we're going to do sweet potato casserole, and then we're going to do mac and cheese. The mac and cheese is going to be my favorite one. We're going to get started, alright? Okay, so the first start of the pie, as always, you to make the pie crust. So in here we got about 360 grams of all-purpose flour. We're going to put that in this pot here. Then we're going to do a big old tablespoon of salt, throw that in. And I have 2 tablespoons, and maybe 3 tablespoons of sugar. Just throw that all in there. Now we need to get butter out of our freezer, okay? We need about 2 sticks of butter. The colder the butter, the better this is going to be. You want everything to stay nice and cold because butter is very temperature sensitive. Obviously, it'll melt and it just won't turn out all right. We're going to peel out the butter right there. Cut this out into cubes. It'll slice right easily because it's frozen. Here we go. We're going to throw that right into our dry ingredients, as well as the second stick. Cut her down in half, down the middle like this. Flip it over and just chop. There we go. Throw that all in there. Now you could do this with a food processor. It would actually make your life a lot easier. But this gives me a perfect time to explain the difference between mealy pie crust and flaky pie crust. So you want to work the butter into the flour, and you want to work the butter pieces up until they're about like pea-shaped sizes. When you have flaky pie crust, that's because you have bigger chunks of butter in your dough. When you have smaller pieces of butter, almost like pureed in there, then you have mealy, which makes it a little more tougher. Flaky obviously is better because it, you know, flakes off and it's delicious. Don't get me wrong. You know, and then once we get this going, we're going to add some water. We're just going to work this up a little bit. Alrighty, so we're at the point now where the butter is pretty worked. You definitely want it to be, you know, not too small, because then again you're going into that mealy territory. You want to stay in the flaky area. So piece-shaped, about yay big. You're going to want to mix that all in, make sure it's all incorporated with all the dry stuff. Now when you reach this point, you can do one of 2 things. You need to get water that is ice cold. You need everything to be extremely cold. And you're going to want to pour just about enough to get it where it's like wet sand. Right, just a little bit at a time, keep working it. So I would say about 5 to 6 tablespoons of water should get you there. You can also add vodka, like really cold vodka, because people say it's less wet. It feels pretty wet to me. But they say it's less wet, and then it ends up getting cooked out in the cooking process anyway. I've never used vodka. This seems like a waste of good liquor. But yeah, we're going to just work this and make sure we want to get the nice wet sand consistency, just as it's starting to come together. A little bit at a time. Okay, so now we're at the point where it's starting to come together. You can mold it like it's clay or sand, just like that. It'll fall apart. It still is going to look dry. That's okay. You're gonna see why. Okay, now that we have it all together, we're gonna dump this out on our plastic wrap. If you have a pastry mat, even better. I don't have one yet, but I will get one eventually. And we're just gonna work it, almost like you're kneading dough. We're just gonna work it, let it come together, make sure all that butter is in there. We lost some on the floor, that's okay. It's all about relaxing. Cooking's supposed to be fun. Okay, now that we have it together, I like to bring in the plastic wrap like so. Just get it working. Okay. Get that going, that going. And then we're gonna wrap this up into a little disc, because you want to squish this down. The flatter its surface is, the better it's going to cool in the fridge. Now you know you got a good ass pie crust. You got little knobs of butter in there. That's all gonna melt. That's all gonna melt, and that's all gonna turn into flaky, delicious heart attack goodness. And that's what we want in our pie. Because remember, it's pie. It ain't supposed to be healthy. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lose weight eating this. But who cares? It's pie. It's an indulgence. It's a once in a while thing. So we're gonna place this in the fridge no less than a half an hour. This needs to chill. This needs to relax. And you're gonna see that all the dryness of the dough, the flour, it's not gonna look like that. It's gonna be real hydrated after a half an hour. Now we're gonna move on to the next step where we're gonna make pie filling. Alrighty, so now we're gonna make pie filling, and it's pretty easy. Apples, that's the base. Now you can use a variety of apples to make pie filling. You can use Granny Smith, which are my favorite. You can also use Honey Crisp. You can also use any, not so blatantly red apple. Don't use the Red Delicious, because first of all, that apple's disgusting. Second of all, it will turn into mush. It's not made to stand for baking. Baking apples, again, you want to stick with the lighter color ones. Like I like the Granny Smith ones. They're my favorite. So I'm going to show you a pretty quick method of to core, peel, and get this prepped for a pie filling. So obviously we're going to start off by peeling an apple. Pretty easy, right? Get that going. Scrape off anything off the bottom. Scrape off anything off the top. And there we go. Oh. One more. Now we're going to take all the peel, obviously, and get rid of that because that's discardable trash. Now, we're going to take our apple and we're going to cut from the core, right? So we're going to go down 1, down 2, down 3, and down 4, right? And there's always a little extra. Get rid of this. Now we're going to do this small dice, right? It doesn't have to be super pretty, super fancy. It's going in a pie, right? So 1, 2, 3, right? Line that up. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. That's all we need. Small dice. Same thing here. Now you're going to want to do this about 1,001 times, and then you're going to have enough pie or apple for your pie filler. There it is. Done. Okay. Now this is our pies, or pie filling, apple. So normally you're supposed to squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on here. I didn't buy any lemons, I totally forgot. What that's going to do is going to bring a little bit of extra acidity to the apple pie, which is going to help contrast the extra sweetness, because this is all sugar, this is all butter. Right? Since we don't have that, which is okay, we're going to move on. So we need granulated sugar. First thing we're going to do is we're going to coat these apples in a little bit of sugar. I'd say probably about 1/4 cup. Yeah. 1/4 cup. It's a lot of sugar, but remember, it's a pie. You've already made a bad decision by eating it. In for a penny, in for a pound. Shake these up, get that all coated. There we go. Now, we're going to get a large skillet. Large skillet. Put that on medium. Or you can get the light. Put it on medium. Butter. I'd say half a stick is good. Half a stick works for me. We're going to let that melt. We're We're not going to get it to the brown butter stage. We're going to get it somewhere beyond the initial stage, right before browning. Just nice and evenly melted. Again, this is going to seem like a lot of butter, but it's American. It's American as apple pie. Americans, we love to put butter in everything. Once our butter is just about melted, we're going to throw our apples in there. Beautiful. Now we're just going to get this going until most of the liquid from the apples comes out. There we go. Alright, so the apples have released a good amount of liquid now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some cinnamon to the pot. Alright, get that going. I'd say probably 2 tablespoons. It's probably a little bit more, but I don't mind because I like it. And we're going to add some freshly grated nutmeg. There we go. Give yourself a microplane. These things are awesome. Now the nutmeg is nice. It's going to add a little bit of spice. And it, you know, tastes like fall. And I like to have a good amount. There we go. Now we got our spices in. We're going to mix it around. Oh, you can smell that, right, Ferret? It smells like fall. Look at that. You can see the color change immediately into that thing we know and love, which is apple pie filling. Now at this point, a lot of liquid has come through. We're going to keep cooking this down, reduce this down almost until caramel before we go ahead and put this in our pie crust. But we still got a long way to go. Now something that I like to do that a lot of people don't do, and I think is a mistake, is I'll add a little pinch of salt. You got a lot of sweetness in here. You need something to offset that. See, it's already starting to turn into that caramel we're talking about. See that? Alright, now that we're at this point, we're going to add a full tablespoon of cornstarch. Cornstarch is necessary because it helps bind everything together. It helps make it a solid. That way when you get this, you know, when you open up a pie, it's not just water. There's a lot of liquid in this. You need something to bring all that liquid together. But don't worry about the clumps, it'll all get absorbed. Alright. Look at that. That's pretty solid apple pie filling. Don't worry about that, it's okay. Some can get lost. There we go. Okay, so now that we're at this point, I'm going to shut this off because she's good to go. We don't want to cook it any further than that. We're going to put this back in our bowl here. We need to let this cool down so it does not melt the pastry. You need this almost at room temp. It doesn't have to go all the way to room temp, but it needs to be pretty close. Okay, so the next step of this is we're going to add my own personal touch, is I like to add streusel. Streusel is that kind of stuff that you find in coffee cake. It's like that crunchy stuff. Right? It's pretty much cinnamon and brown sugar. We're going to make that for you today. Okay, so now we're going to make our streusel. We're going to start off with 241 grams of all-purpose flour. We're also going to add to this, we're going to add 168 grams of brown sugar. There we go. A little too much. There we go. A little bit for good luck there. 168. Now we're going to add a very unique sugar. This is called Tobiano sugar, also known as raw cane sugar. This is going to add, we're going to put about 71 grams of that in here. The difference between this sugar and regular granulated, the clusters are a little bit bigger. It has a little better taste to it, I think. I wouldn't put this in your coffee though, you'd be stirring it forever. Don't really dissolve that well. Okay, now to that we're going to add some cinnamon. Where are you? About a tablespoon by eyeball. Again, I like cinnamon, so I really don't care how much goes in there. And we're going to do baking powder. This is very important. Now, it's kind of weird because this is usually a raising agent, but this actually helps stabilize it. So just like a 1/4 tablespoon maybe. That'll work. Now we gotta add melted butter. I would do 1.5 sticks. We got our half stick from previous. And where is my other butter? Thank you. And then we got 1/2 stick here. We're gonna throw this in the microwave for a little bit. Okay. Throw that in the microwave, a minute should do it, maybe even 30 seconds. Alright, so we melted our butter. There we go. We're going to put that right into our dry ingredients. And we're going to mix. Now this is going to get pretty stiff pretty quick. It's actually pretty surprising. It turns out to feels like you're stirring cement after a while. We'll mix all that butter, all that stuff together. And you're like, oh my god, this is getting so dry. Keep going. Don't worry, it'll turn. There we go. This is kind of like my signature thing that I bring to like my cousins' Thanksgivings because they're all Italians and none of them eat apple pie. They never really tried it because they're like, oh, it's American dessert. We'd rather have tiramisu. And they try this and they're like, oh my god. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's good. Try something. There we go. That's the consistency we're looking for. And this is good, man. You can eat this just like this. It's delicious. Alright. So now we got all the key ingredients ready. We got our streusel. We got our apple pie filling. Now we're going to get the apple pie from the fridge. And she should be ready to go. Where is it? There it is. Oh yeah, she's ready. Now what we got to do now is we got to have a floured workplace because this stuff gets really sticky really quick. If you have any type of countertop that's even a little bit moist, it will screw you. And I've lost a lot of pie crust from being kind of dumb and not paying attention. So you want to get a nice, even, lightly floured workspace, right? Excuse me. Gonna get our pie out. As you can see, no longer dry. Came together. You need to let it sit in the fridge. That way it rehydrates everything. Keep that there if we need it. Get my roller out. We're gonna want to roll, or I'm sorry, we're gonna want to flour our rolling pin as well. You don't want any stickiness coming from this. Okay. Start from the middle. Beat her down. You're gonna get cracks. That's totally fine. This is pie crust, pretty forgiving. Just any crack you see, beat into submission. You gotta let them know who's boss. Start from the middle, roll up, roll down. You gotta have this pastry continuously moving. You wanna get an even roll. Up and down. Look at all that butter. That's so awesome. From now on, man, I'm telling you, I'm doing this by hand. Because look at this. This is gonna be the best pie ever. Again, pick up, roll over. Get these cracks, get them sealed up. It's totally normal. It's pie crust. Okay. Keep rolling. Turn. Roll and turn. Now you can pretty much roll this out to whatever thickness you want. I don't like it too thick, I don't like it too thin. If it gets too thick, it takes longer to cook. If it gets too thin, then it's like eating on a cracker. It's stupid. Okay. I think we're good. Now, I'm covered in flour. Now the best way to judge the size that you want is grab your pie pan. Put it over. That looks pretty adequate to me. I mean, you gotta account for shrinkage and stuff like that, but it looks pretty alright. So a good trick is, take your, you know what? Flour one more time before you do this. Flour down, take one edge, roll it up. This makes life so much easier. There we go. Take this here, and then roll it back over. Look at that. Come on. It doesn't get easier than that. People say pies are intimidating. Look at this. I'm hungover as hell and I'm able to do this. Now what you don't want to do is, a lot of people make this mistake, is that they'll just push their pie crust in. You're going to ruin it. This is going to shrink. It'll all fall apart. You want to pick it up and set it in. Pick her up, set her in like that. See that? Doesn't that make more sense to you? Look at that. Look at that. Now, what you want to do next? You want to trim this boy. Get a pair of kitchen shears or a knife and shear her up. There we go. Now curve her up like this, right on the lid. We can trim this one a little further. I guess I missed this. There we go. This is going to help with the shrinkage. Because these things, they shrink. There we go. Now you want to do a little cutesy pattern. It's really simple. Pinch it, do that. See that? Simple pattern, it looks fancy. You can even take the scraps or even the second pie dough and make like lattice, but who cares? You know? You're gonna go see your family or your best friend, you're not gonna go see the Pope. There we go. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to take a breather and just clean myself up. Look like Tony Montana just did a whole bowl of cocaine. Okay, now the pie dough is ready. We're going to put our apple pie filling there. Even it out. Let me get a spoon in the bowl. There we go. It's very pretty. Okay. Now that we have that, complete the ensemble here, we are going to take our strudel. This is what's really going to throw this pie into the stratosphere. You know what I mean? This is pure love. Dutch apple pie. Look at that. We're going to throw all that on there. Now remember, this is like that coffee cake taste, so it really turns this into something different. The flavors work so good, and it's just so goddamn delicious. It'll kill you though. All this will kill you. There we go. Just kind of like sprinkle it over it. Cover it all. And when you do it like this, you don't have to worry about venting the pie, you know? Because normally when you have a straight pie crust cover, you have to put vents so the damn thing don't explode. This ain't going to explode. At least it hasn't happened to me yet. I don't know. That would be very surprising. Okay. Now we're going to take this, we're just going to gently kind of like push it in, make sure it's nice and even. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do is we got to get an egg wash going. Egg wash the sides. What you're going to take is you're going to take 2 eggs. Right over here. It's 1. Throw that in the sink. 2. Now people tell you to add milk, they tell you to add whatever, just add a little bit of water. That's it. You know, if you add cream to your eggs and then you do your egg wash like that, the only thing you're going to do is you're going to burn it. It's more sugar, that's more like Maillard reaction that you don't need happening. You know, because this is going to go in the oven at 350 for about an hour, about 50 minutes, 55 minutes. So that's going to do a lot to the pastry. You don't want to add a bunch of stuff on here that's just going to turn it black. You know, this was like 2 hours of work. Why do you want to throw it away? You're here, you might as well continue. Now, funny enough, this is where things tend to go wrong for people. They're at the final stop, right? You're there. You're at the bus stop. And this is where people tend to f*** it up. Or screw it up, excuse me. They get a little too rough with the pastry when they egg wash it. And it gets dented, it gets screwed up. You're adding moisture to it, so it's going to change it in a way. But just blot it, you know? Just be gentle. You don't have to like, you know? Like, what are you accomplishing? Just pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. Nice and easy. You know, it doesn't have to be anything serious. And to be honest, this is like a part that's not even really necessary. You just do it for color. It's really not a big deal. There we go. Make sure you get all the little edges. If you really want to do something special too, take some of that granulated sugar. Sprinkle the edges. It's the little things. A little extra kiss. Makes everything go better. Alrighty, that's the pie. We're gonna bake this at 375 for an hour. It's gonna be a long bake. There it is. So she's been in there for about 55 minutes. You're gonna be really tempted. You're gonna wanna cut into this right away, but that's stupid. You know what I mean? You don't wanna do that. Baking changes everything, right? And it's not ready when it's hot. You have to let it chill. You have to let the butter settle. You have to let the inside settle as well. Else you're gonna cut into it, it's gonna be like a big gushy mess. Nobody likes that. You spend all this time, let it chill. You got time. At least 24 hours if you really want it to be good. All right, and there it is. There's my American Dutch apple pie. Once this chills out, we're gonna cut a slice, show you what it looks like in the middle, all right? All right, so now we're gonna move on to our sweet potato casserole. What we're gonna do first is we're just gonna peel a potato. I'm sure everyone's done this at least once in their life, right? Look at that, it goes everywhere. Speedy round. Okay, now that our potato is peeled, excuse me, I would say probably 6 to 7 potatoes you're going to need for this, depending on how many people, obviously. If you're a smaller party, you don't need all these potatoes. You're going to put them in a pot of cold water and bring it up to a boil slowly, and you're going to boil them until they're fork tender. I would probably say 45 minutes, half hour to 45 minutes. We already did that. I have them here. So now that we have our potatoes, they're all boiled and chilled off, we are going to cut them into coin size. So we're going to go one, whoop, there we go, about a 1/4 inch maybe. And we're going to do this about 101 more times. There we go. Awesome. And then we'll snap back when these are all cut. Alrighty, so now that we got our potatoes cut, we put them in this nice tray. Throw this over here. Now we got to make a slurry of cinnamon, brown sugar, and butter, equal parts. So we got our saucepan going. We're going to add 8 tablespoons, a full stick, alongside a second stick, another 8 tablespoons, making the equal amount of 16. Throw that in. We're going to let that bubble away. Now while that's bubbling, we're going to add equal parts brown sugar. So 2 sticks of butter equal 16 tablespoons. So you guessed it, we're going to add 16 tablespoons of brown sugar. We're also going to add cinnamon and maybe a little nutmeg if we're feeling froggy, but we'll see. So now we got our butter melted good enough. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, we're going to lower the heat now. There we go. So now we got brown butter. That was an accident, but we're going to roll with it. Nothing wrong with brown butter. Bring this slurry together. Let all of that get melted and incorporated. It's going to turn like to molasses. Some on the thing. Now while that's going, we're going to add some cinnamon. There we go. Again, I like cinnamon. And nutmeg. Thank you, Ferret. Some nutmeg. Nutmeg. It's a very expensive thing to drop in there. Alright, we're going to stir this back up. There we go. Get that nice and going. Let all of that sugar dissolve in there. This is going to go on top of the potatoes. Now, this is perfect recipe to keep you have it ready, you have it made like the night before or a couple of days before. You put this on top, you let it sit, and then you put it in the fridge at 350 for like 20 minutes. It's good to go. It smells amazing. It smells like it's gonna kill you. There we go. Now everything is starting to melt. See, that's brown sugar though. Brown sugar is just sugar that's in molasses. It's like at a certain point of the processing of sugar, it gets to this point where it becomes like a molasses, and they just stop it from becoming molasses, and it's brown sugar. It's the step right before. There we go. She's bubbling away. Now you can tell it's starting to get ready when you start hearing the grains. Like you hear like the grains. When you stop hearing that so much, then it's almost dissolved and ready to go. You're pretty much making a caramel. And butter. Alrighty, so now we got to a point where the slurry has become more liquidy. We added a stick of butter just to help cream things through. And it's going good. We're enjoying this. We're going to let this cook through, and it's going to get real emulsified, real creamy, almost looking like a pudding of sorts. Okay, now that our butter is emulsified, we're going to just pour this guy right on top. All of that delicious, caramely, brown sugar goodness. Holy, look at that. That's awesome. Beautiful. Alrighty, so this is really good. You keep it the night before, keep it in the fridge, and then when you're ready to serve it to your friends, you pop it in the oven at 350 and she's ready to go. Now if you want to do it the traditional American way, you can add marshmallows. I would not do that though, because you'll ruin the dish. Marshmallows do not belong on vegetables, I'm sorry. This is perfect the way it is. Alright, so next we're going to be making our stuffing. I got a nice loaf of homemade bread that we made, and we're going to cut into this. We let this, I kind of cut the top off here to kind of help stale out the bread overnight. It's going to help soak up any liquid. So we're going to dice her up. As you can see, she's pretty crunchy, pretty stale, and that's kind of what you want. Stuffing is meant to use old or toasted bread because it helps soak up all the liquid. It's technically not even stuffing. I don't really know why we call it stuffing, just because we stuff it in a bird, which don't ever put stuffing in a raw turkey. You're going to give yourself food poisoning, all right? You stuff it after. If you're walking around at your mom's house on Thanksgiving and you're like, wow, I have diarrhea and I don't know why. It's because you have food poisoning, because you put stuffing in a raw bird. I don't understand it. It's a great way to get a food pathogen. Stupid. Okay, so we're going to go pretty simple with this. When it comes to stuffing, simple is always best. We're just going to give it a rough dice. Doesn't have to be cute little perfect squares. We're not making croutons. Like, to me, that's pretty good. Throw it in the bucket. There we go. But yes, we should be calling it dressing, because that's what it is. It dresses your food. In the South, they call it dressing. I don't know why we call it stuffing. There we go. There we go. Again, nothing fancy. It's probably even better if you just take it apart by hand, but I just can't be bothered to do that right now. Just want to cut it up. When you rip it apart by hand, you get better texture. It's nice. Get a little rustico look. There we go. That's good enough. You're probably going to want to use, I'd say, about a pound of bread. Again, it's hard to tell you measurements because, you know, this is for like a Friendsgiving, or you don't know how many people are going to be there. So use your own judgment. There are the breadcrumbs there. Next, we're going to prep our onion. If you remember from the TikTok, which we will link somewhere around here, we showed you how to do the bridge method of cutting an onion. We're going to do the same exact thing right now. So again, we're going to cut the skin off. There we go. and we're gonna make a couple of cuts. Leave the core of the onion on. Then I like to do a little cut down the middle there just to get some extra bite-sized pieces. Then hold it together. There we go. Look at that. It's always going to come out perfect when you do it like this. Now just because we left the core on, I don't mean throw that away. Don't be wasteful. Take it, put it down the side, and cut it like this. Good enough. That's done. We're going to use a full onion. There we go. Starting to get a little sad from these onions. Starting to hurt my eyes a little bit. Now the first time I worked in my kitchen at my family's restaurant, they had me actually cutting onions on a deli slicer, really thin for this one special we were working on. So we wanted the onions to be paper thin. And it was me and this other guy, and we're slicing these onions, and our faces were swollen. Like it looked like our dogs died. Like we were so sad, and our eyes were so watery. We had to go outside, and we're like, whew. And the chef comes up, he goes, "Who died?" I'm like, "Nobody, it's okay." So we got that prepped. We're gonna put this to the side. Now we need celery. We're pretty much making a kind of a lazy mirepoix. Mirepoix obviously being diced carrot, onion, and celery. That's the basis for any sauce or any stew or anything like that. But we don't need carrots and stuffing because that would bring a weird sweetness. And plus, I don't know, if you go to somebody's house and you see chunks of carrot in the stuffing, you should leave. Why would you? That's weird. Alrighty. So we got this prepped up. Like 3 stalks. You could probably even get away with 2, but I did 3. Beautiful. And now we're going to use spicy Italian sausage, because I'm a spicy boy. Now we're going to get another saucepan. This is our 3rd one now. And if you haven't figured it out, we're going to put butter on here. Because it's Thanksgiving, we want to kill ourselves. This is some really nice butter. It's like, I think, Middle Eastern. I probably paid way too much money for it because I'm a fool. Probably a knob of butter is probably too much, but it'll be fine. And we're going to take our sausage, and we're actually going to cut it out of the casing. Let's use all 5 lengths, or not. Now everyone's freaking out, oh, he's got raw pork on a raw vegetable. It's all getting cooked. It's all getting cooked on the one thing. You're not going to get AIDS, don't worry, it's fine. We're going to cut this open. Alright, we're going to take our pork, throw it right in there. Get some nice color on it. A little salt, a little fresh pepper. And we're going to cook this thoroughly. So now that our pork is fully cooked through, we are going to take it out of here and we're going to save the juices. That's important. So we're going to get our strainer, another bowl, put that there. We're going to strain that through. We don't want too many liquids going in this thing, you know? There we go. Put that back on the fire. Let that strain through. Put the juices back in the saucepan. And now we're going to cook onions. Get our mirepoix going. Then we're going to cook these onions just until they are translucent. Meaning you can see through them. for those who don't know what that means. There we go, nice and covered. All covered in that butter pork fat. Now while that's going, because it's going to take a hot minute, we can start prepping our veggies here. Our veggies, our seasonings. We got the whole gang, the whole ragtag crew. We got parsley, rosemary, thyme, and sage. Now you're probably thinking, wow, those are all the same seasonings you would use to roast a bird. Like, yeah, well, yeah, it is. So we're gonna cut this up nice and fine. That's good. Some thyme, if you remember from our beef Wellington video, which I will link as me video as well. I really like thyme, so I'm gonna double up on the thyme. Now you can just rip it off the stem, throw the stem out, there you go. And then we have our rosemary. Same thing, rip it off, throw it down. You don't really have to cut this up too much. There we go, we got our poultry seasoning going. And we're gonna add Italian parsley. Now when you want to cut up any kind of herb or parsley in particular, ball it up in your hand like this. Ball it up, put it down, and just go hard. There you go, that's plenty. Look at that. Nice, easy, fun to cut. Very satisfying. Alrighty, let's check on our onions. Onions are just about there. Perfect. So now we're going to add our celery. We add the onions first because they take a little bit longer to cook. We want to make sure everything's got even time. There we go. Get that going. Toss it up. Let all the flavors get to know each other. Okay. Now that everything's kind of gotten to know each other a little bit, we're going to start putting stuff together. So we got our homemade bread from before, right? All stale, ready to go. We're going to throw that right on there. We got our sausage. Throw that on top. Now we got our herbs. We got the rosemary, parsley, sage, and thyme. Sprinkle that all in there. And now we are going to work this. We're going to determine how much stock we're going to need. Okay. Because you don't want this. This is essentially like savory bread pudding, right? That's what stuffing is. You want to make sure you don't put too much liquid, but you don't want to have not enough. If you don't have enough, then it's going to be super dry. Nothing worse than a dry stuffing. Okay. So I got a pretty good determination of how much stock I want to use. As you can see, it's already starting to absorb some of the liquid here. So we're going to use where is it? Over here. There we go. Now you can go the extra route and do your own stock, but that takes bones and time, and I don't have that. So a little bit at a time. Add that in. Yeah, that's good. Now, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take 2 eggs. And by the way, these eggs are blue. Go on my TikTok, find out why. Hungry Chef. Crack these in here. We're going to add some of this stock. We're going to beat it. Now the stock, or the egg's going to help kind of make a custard in here. It's going to make it really, really nice. Kind of give it that real bread pudding feel. Oh yeah, that's what we're wanting. It smells very, very herby, which is good, because that's what we want it to smell like. We're going to add a final little touch of salt. And then, oh my God, you wouldn't believe this, but we're going to add butter to the pan. The butter is going to help the bread crisp up a little bit. So we're just going to rub it all in a little pan here. Now I'm putting these in, little hat trays because, you know, it makes it easier to bring it to your friend's house or your family's house. I don't want to use my own. There we go. Every little nook and cranny. And we're going to dump this right in there. Jesus. Perfect. Okay. So now, this needs to go in the oven at 375. We're going to check on it after a half an hour. After a half an hour, we'll determine how long we want after that. But that's it. That's easy. Throw that right in there. Okay, so now we're going to make our mac and cheese. Now, we got a good combination of shredded sharp cheddar and shredded Colby marble cheddar. You can use any cheese you want. And we also got some diced mozzarella, full fat mozzarella that we're going to, or low moisture mozzarella that we're going to have some fun with in a little bit as well. All for the mac and cheese. We're going to start off by making a roux. Now, a roux is the base for a bechamel. Bechamel is part of the mother sauces. There are 5, I believe, mother sauces, being bechamel, hollandaise, velouté, espagnole sauce, and classic tomato. Now, they're called mother sauces because you use that base to create a different kind of sauce. And that's why they're called that. So with the bechamel sauce that we're making now, that's going to be the catalyst for our cheese sauce. It has a fancy French name, I can't remember, so we're just going to call it fancy cheese sauce. We're going to put our butter in the pan, let that melt. Butter is almost melted down. Come check this out, Barry. We got all of the bubbles coming up. That's water. We want all the water to evaporate. We want to stop making this buttery noise, and then it'll be ready for our roux. Just pretty much want to get all the water out. It's a stage before browning. All right, just keep it moving. It'll help kind of make the process go by faster. See the sputtering? We need that to stop. We also don't want it to brown. Put it down to medium. Okay. Keep her moving. As you can hear, it's starting to die down. Okay. I think we're at a good point now. We're going to add equal parts. We did half cup of butter. We want to do equal parts with a half cup of flour. There we go. Now we're going to keep mixing this just until the raw flour smell dissipates. Now this is a thickening method. This really makes your sauces and such get super thick. Okay, raw flour smell is just about gone. We're going to put this off to the side for a sec so it doesn't burn. And we need to get absolutely cold, fridge cold whole milk. We need about 4 cups. So that's pretty much this whole thing here. Now this part is very important and very easy to mess up. People don't have patience. But you trust me, it's going to come out good. Come over here. Okay, so we're going to put this on medium. We want to put this in a little at a time. If you put it too fast, you're going to get lumps. That's not good. A little at a time. There we go. Let that go in, add a little more. A little more. Oh yeah, she's getting to be a roux. A little more at a time. A little more. That's what we're gonna. There we go. Now it's starting to get like really thick. And now we just got to work to get all these lumps out. As it heats up, it'll delumpify. We're falling apart. pasta in the water. You want to make sure your pasta water is as salty as the sea. That's what every Italian person will tell you. It's alright. Stir her around. Come back in like 10 minutes, it'll be ready. Alrighty. Once your roux is ready, we're going to take it, we're going to put it right into our cheese here. Just stir this around. Thank you, wife. There we go. Get it all nice and cheesy. Whew, it's a thick boy. That is a thick boy. So we got the majority of it melted. It's going to melt a lot more in the oven. God damn. A little salt. A little ground pepper. And my secret ingredient. My secret ingredient, a little spoonful of Dijon mustard. I like to add it. I like the taste of it. It helps cut through all that cheese. Mix her all up. Okay, now that the pasta's in there, we're just going to move it all together, little to little. The heat of this is going to help melt this cheese even more. Jesus. Look at that. If that ain't mac and cheese, I don't know what is. Okay. So now that this has all been mixed up, we're going to put this in our half tray here. A little at a time, maybe half the mixture. Little to little, even it up. And then we're going to take our mozzarella. We're going to put that right in the middle there. Then we're going to scoop the rest right on top. It's a very heavy bowl. There we go. All evened up. We got a little extra in the bowl here. That's snacking for the chef. There we go. Maybe even it up a little bit. Now if you want, you can even put breadcrumbs on top of here. I don't really want to do that, but I will add more cheese. Now this is going to go in the oven for 45 minutes at 375. There we go. Into the oven with our stuffing, which is probably burned now. There we go. And speaking of which, our stuffing is ready, I think. It should be. Look at that. Beautiful stuffing. Nice color. Crunchy. Tastes delicious. So, we have our sweet potato casserole, our stuffing, our mac and cheese, and of course our pie. We're going to go ahead and plate everything on there so you can get a better look. Beautiful sweet potatoes. There we go. Very nice. Still hot. Then we got our our stuffing. Put that on there. And of course, our final piece de resistance is the mac and cheese. I don't really know how I'm going to cut into this. Get a spatula. Okay. There we go. That's cheese pull. There it is. Now we gotta cut into the pie. We gotta see what the pie looks like. It's breaking. It's okay. There it is. Nice apple pie. Little crust there. Alright. So please use any of these recipes you saw here. You bring them to your mom's house, your friend's house, any Friendsgiving, your grandma. Let everybody know. And if you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe. This is our second video and we've already seen some major support on the first. And we'd like to see some major support on the second one. We can keep making more videos. Please recommend any recipe you'd like. I will always make them, and I'll always be hungover. Thank you, and have a good night, guys.
Cause if I'm not hungover, then you know it isn't right.